Crazy things people do before Thanksgiving. And the reason I made this video, I thought, wow, this is the best time, if any, to make a video like this. And this could apply to even other holidays. So the biggest holiday shopping day of the year is called Black Friday. And I'm sure a lot of people know and they're full aware. And people go through a whole lot of trouble just to even meet their family. You know, they'll stand in long lines at the airport. They'll sit in their car in traffic, and that's a hassle. And for those who opt out of having to go through the hassle of just the travel, you get yourself prepared so you can be with your families and enjoy your turkey and have a nice meal, and everything seems to be going well. Because see, there's even a hassle when you're trying to prepare just to get ready for Thanksgiving, because you're trying to get all of your food and all of your items together. But that's the least of the worries. So now you have all your family members and you're trying to get together and enjoy your meal and enjoy each other's company. So this year in 2016, they're telling people to relax because we just had an election. And as you know, Donald Trump is the presidential elect. So from what I did in another video, I heard on the news that there were families that were split apart, or they were divided behind the decisions that were made on who was to be the president, Donald Trump elect, versus Hillary, and some of all the underlying issues. So you have all these lovely families, and they're getting together to enjoy a wonderful meal. They haven't seen each other in a while, or they're going to other family members or relatives' homes to share the holidays. It could be Thanksgiving, it could be Christmas. And it's really a good relaxing time to talk and to see people you're not normally able to see, because maybe you have a busy schedule or you live further away from these family members. So you go through a lot of trouble for the travel. But what I'm hearing is that some people are still upset about Donald Trump being the president of the United States. And if you've focused on some of the politics that have been going on, you would understand why, because there's a lot of other issues that are going on in the U.S. right now that are really hot button topics. And it's crazy. I don't know why, but maybe it wasn't a good time to have an election close to the holidays. I'm just saying. But now we also have this thing where people are going to cyber shop. So if you want to avoid having to stand in long lines and having to fight, traffic to go shopping on Black Friday, some people will say, "Oh, I'm just going to stay home and I'll just buy things online." And for the African American community, there's been this talk that they're going to boycott Black Friday because black people tend to be more consumers and don't have a lot of businesses, and we don't have a lot of financial institutions that we can call our own to say that we have enough institutions that represent the black community that are putting money into black dollars back into black communities so that they can thrive. So they want to boycott what you see here, Black Friday. Some of that might be good, and that for anybody, even if you're not black, because look at all of the chaos. Look at the long lines, the long crowds of people waiting to get in. And what I don't understand is why people people put themselves through all of this craziness. And some of it, I believe, maybe it's just exciting for some individuals to have that adrenaline going where they know, oh wow, I might get a TV for real cheap, or some, maybe some kind of perfume or cologne, or some clothes or some toys or something. Maybe they think, oh, I'm just going to start early shopping, but it can get crazy. You'll have people pushing and shoving, and you see there's a little boy in the corner, and I don't think that's the safest environment for him. And we talk all about, child endangerment and abuse. That looks abusive right there. Look at the crowds of people, and it could get really violent and dangerous, where people could end up fighting. They could hurt someone. They could end up getting arrested. There's people that are stealing, because how can you keep track of all those people? You're standing there with your wallet in your pocket, your purse is to your side, and who's to say that the person next to you is not going to get violent and fight with you or steal something from you? And some people don't like to be stepped on. They're very sensitive, and standing in those kind of crowds, anything's liable to break out during Black Friday and all these other shopping days of the year that are really big and popular during the holiday season. And Black people, we like to shop, just be honest. We, like anyone else. And so not everybody is going to be willing to boycott Black Friday. So you're going to have people that, regardless of what you say, they'll get online, they'll look at these videos, and they'll say, oh yeah, more power to the people and this, that, and the other. But they're going to be in the store like everybody else, breaking down the door to get in so they can get a deal, so they can shop. That's just how it is. But with all this excitement, every year, this is like the biggest thing that happens, during Thanksgiving. People are obsessed with the holidays and the shopping. And look at this poor salesman standing there. Can you imagine what he must be going through? I don't have to imagine. I know what it's like, because I was one of those people. I was actually working in retail at one time, and it was crazy. And what I can't understand is why people will go into the store and they see things and they really don't need it, and they get all this stuff, they buy all these things, these items, and then they come back the next day bringing maybe a majority of all the items that they bought, and they're standing in long lines again just to bring the items back, returning things. So I don't know if it's just the whole idea that maybe people think they're going to get a deal, but I always thought it was crazy. I just don't understand why people will do certain things like sleep overnight at stores, and they'll do it the day before a holiday. I mean, who has that kind of time? They fight on Black Friday. I don't understand who does this type of stuff. But people do it. There's people out there that do it. They buy a lot of food for the holidays, but it's only you that's eating. I don't get that. People travel during bad weather at the last minute. There's a blizzard, there's a snowstorm, but they're at the airport and you're held up and the flights are delayed. They're waiting in these long lines, and look at these lines. Just take a look at how long. This is no joke. I mean, do you know they're not standing there for like 5-10 minutes? These are hours of standing, and who knows when that line formed, at what time. And there's anger and there's frustration. And if you're standing for that long of hours, you're going to have to go to the bathroom. And people will even go so far as to camp out. Like I said, they spend the night so they can be the first one. This is what I couldn't understand. If Thanksgiving is today, why would you be at a store camping out when you should be at home with your families? But some people, they do it. So I think sometimes people do not know that it's not what you give a person, it's the family time, talking, spending time with one another that counts more so than the material items. But, it's easier said than done, I suppose, for some individuals.